there, want to learn how to compare two lists of data super fast using the VLOOKUP function in Excel? Stick around and I'll show you the best way to do it. Perfect for reconciling accounts. Hey, I'm Sharyn from Excel at Work, where we offer straightforward, non-technical assistance to help you become a confident, super productive user of Microsoft Office. In this video, I'm going to run through comparing two lists of data to find missing information and data that has been entered incorrectly. And I'll cover the things that I constantly find people doing wrong when it comes to creating VLOOKUPs. If you'd like a copy of the files I'm using to follow along, I've put a link below. And if you personally have any super helpful VLOOKUP tips that may be really helpful to others, go ahead and share them. We'd love to hear from you. Hi there, so here's a scenario that I'll talk you through, and this is something that I work with people a lot in doing comparisons between information that we have in our system compared to maybe a supplier's information or a customer's information, especially when it comes to payments. And in this instance, what we have here is, obviously the information's make-believe, but what we have here is a list of information, our list, that's come out of or been generated out of our system, and then we've got the customer's information here, and that may have been copied and pasted out of information that they've emailed to us or sent to us in some way. And what we're trying to do is we're wanting to do a comparison on what they believe they've paid. There's the invoice number there, the amount and the date, and of course we have our information here. There's the invoice number, the amount and the date. We also have some purchase order numbers here as well, and of course that can be something that we could look up or use as a lookup value. However, I just want to point this out to you. When you're creating a lookup, it's always important that the lookup value that you're using, the match for match. What I'm talking about here is we've got an invoice number here, and of course the customer's got an invoice number over here. Now they need to be unique. They can't be replicated down the column. In this instance, you might see that we have actually got a purchase order number over here for invoices 2457 and 2458, and they're the same purchase order number, and that can happen. On one purchase order number there can be multiple things dispatched out, and an invoice number obviously created with each dispatch. So in this instance, that's not a good setup for us to use the PO number as the VLOOKUP. However, with the invoice, that's okay. And if you're ever thinking, oh, how could I actually check that? I don't know if you've even been taught this. I'm just clicking to the top of the list here. I'm using Shift Control down arrow to select to the bottom of the list. Now on the Home tab, we have something called Conditional Formatting, Highlight Cell Rules, Duplicate Values, and if it comes up and shows you've got duplicate values, that's not a good column to use to do your VLOOKUP. So I'm just going to cancel out of there. And of course, if we just do a check now over on the invoice number, and we're going to have a look on there, and look at that, nothing. So that's all good. We can actually use that, no worries. Now, if there were duplicates in there, Excel would stop on the first instance that it found, and it may bring back the incorrect information. So always deal with duplicates if you have to get your VLOOKUP working properly. Right, let's come back over to here, and I'll just talk about the next thing. We have this invoice number here that we're going to be using as our VLOOKUP. So essentially we're going to say to Excel, hold that in memory, and I want you to go and find that information over in this table here. Now here's a key thing about building VLOOKUPs. When you're actually working with VLOOKUPs, when you're looking down a column to find a match, once you find a match, Excel can only look to the right of that column. So it's okay in this instance because we've got the purchase order number over here on this side, we've got the amount and the date over here. But if we needed to bring back information about the purchase order number, we need to make sure that that invoice number there, that column, was on the left hand side of this column. Otherwise, you will not be able to use your VLOOKUP to look up, say, the purchase order number and bring that information through. Now, if that's ever the case, if you're ever in a situation where it's in the incorrect place, all you need to do is cut it and move it. So let's do that now. I'm just going to move this so that it's on the other side of the purchase order number. So it's really easy. All I just need to do here is just do a cut and then bring it over to here and then just go insert cut cells. And now I've placed that invoice number in a really good place because I could actually do a VLOOKUP and bring back the purchase order number, the amount, or the date, because they are all placed on the right hand side of that invoice number. Okay, let's come back over to our list and let's start building our VLOOKUP. So If you've ever been on training with me, you'll know that I'm really keen on using this little FX button up here when you're inserting functions. So we're just going to use that, but if you have been taught otherwise and you go to the formulas and you use it from there, or maybe another way, that's absolutely fine, just as long as you end up in the same place as me. Now, if you can't see VLOOKUP down here in the most recently used category, of course you can just come up here, you can remove the brief description and just type in VLOOKUP and go, and it'll find it for you. And then all you have to do is go OK, and you will open up the function arguments box. So let me just guide you through here. Now, the lookup value is the piece of data that you're using that is the match. In this instance, it's going to be the invoice number. Remember that we're going to be using that to look over here on the list from customer information. So coming down to the table array, and you can actually see already Excel's holding that in memory. Coming down to the table array, I'm just going to click into this box here. This is when we actually come over here and we say to Excel, this is where you will find the lookup value. Now, there's several ways that you can do this. If you had a lot of different information in a different table under here, you would have to actually hook in and only highlight the area that you're looking up. So you would have to actually hook that in, and if you did that, you would then need to obviously anchor it so that if you're copying it down, you don't have your formulas. Oopsie, just come back over here. You don't have your formulas creeping. So if you copy that down without the dollar signs, it will go to A6 and D27, and it'll actually creep and not do what you want it to do. If that's the case, you will have to lock it in. But look, there is actually the ability to be able to do this. If you don't have a whole lot of data underneath here, you can also just do this straight across the top, and you can see Excel's held in memory. List from customers tab, that exclamation mark is telling you that it's actually the tab name that it's coming from, the sheet tab down here, and A to D. Now that means that if more information is put at the bottom of here later on, it will be included in the VLOOKUP as well, which is pretty cool. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is just be very, very careful of this. There's so many things that I see people doing wrong at this point. The first thing that I'd say that they do wrong is they click down here before they've actually worked out what the column index number is. I'll just explain what the column index number is. At this point, Excel is looking down the first column of the area that you've highlighted. Now, it's looking down the first column because it's doing what's called a vertical lookup. That's what VLOOKUP stands for, vertical. So it'll look for a match down the first column. Now, once it finds a match, then you are actually asking it or telling it which column you want to bring the information back from. Now, if we were bringing it back from the amount column, this is column 1, this is column 2, this is column 3, and this is column 4. So we're actually saying bring the information back from column 3. That's what you're wanting. So watch this. If I actually haven't counted across 1, 2, 3, from the left we're counting across, and I come down and click onto here, you see what happens? It actually takes you straight back to the original sheet. So if you haven't actually counted prior to doing that, what you need to do is click back up into the table array box and do your counting. Please don't do this, okay? So many people do this. They come and click down here and then they put the name of the sheet tab back in here before they actually put the information that is required in the box. If you accidentally do that, get rid of it, okay? It's not meant to be in there. And again, I'll just say this is 1, 2, 3. It's not A, B, C. That's another thing that people get very, very wrong. 1, 2, 3. We want the information back from the amount box. So I'm just going to go and pop that in now. And now the last thing that you need to do is tell Excel whether you want an exact match. And what you're saying is I need to have you go and find information for 2, 2, 3, 4. So if that's the case, surely you're actually wanting to have an exact match, not a near enough match or a closest match. You want an exact match. Now there's two different things that you can do. If you want a near enough match, you can type the word true, which means that if it couldn't find 2, 2, 3, 4, it might find 2, 2, 3, 3. Now, it's not often that you want that. There are definitely situations that you can use that to your advantage, but most of the time, and certainly when you're doing reconciliation like this, you want an exact match. So you will type in here either the word false, saying, no, I need you to find 2, 2, 3, 4. That's what I'm looking for. Or you can also use a 0. So if you use 0 or the word false, it's actually saying to Excel, find me an exact match. So look at this. As you've started to populate the information up here, Excel is also populating the information across here. So it's equals VLOOKUP, open bracket, hold in memory C5, that 2234, go across to the list from customers information, look from A to D across the information, go to the third column once you've actually found the information, that 2234 in the first column, go to the third column across and you want an exact match. Clicking on OK, and already we've got something that's called an NA happening. Now when you have an NA, it means not available, and I'm just going to copy this down so that you can actually see that your VLOOKUP is actually working. I'm just going to do a double click on the little button here. So some of them, yes, it has definitely worked on, and unfortunately we have a few missing, but that's not a bad thing, because what happens is anything that's not available, you know that the customer hasn't actually either paid you or they haven't got a copy of that invoice. And if you've got lots and lots of information or lots of NAs, of course what you can do at this point, which is really cool, is that you can easily I just did a shift control down arrow to select everything. You can easily go and turn your filter on, and of course you can filter out so that you're actually only looking at the NAs, and then you can do a copy and paste and maybe send that off to your client and just say, or your customer, and say, look, these are the things that we're missing or you're missing, really quickly. So if you have got hundreds of records, you can easily go and find that information. I'm just going to clear that off. In fact, I'll turn filter off. So that's an option for you to go and find them. But very, very quickly we can see where this information isn't available back over on the other sheet. So 2234, 2466 and 2590. Now, I've always found it really helpful to do it back the other way as well. So let me just show you this. Now, before we do that, I'll just show you we can actually obviously come over here and do a VLOOKUP using their information back the other way. But of course, if I want to do a VLOOKUP on the amount, see that the invoice number is in the wrong place. So again, I'm just doing a shift control down arrow again. I'm just doing a cut, and I'll come over here and I'll place it. I could actually place it at the beginning if I needed to do a VLOOKUP on the date. So we'll just pop it into here, insert cut cells, and of course now I can do a VLOOKUP on anything that's to the right of it, which is really neat. So if I come back over here now, and again I'll just talk you through the VLOOKUP. So all we're doing here is we're going to go VLOOKUP. It's in my most recently used, which is great. And then of course the lookup value is going to be the invoice number, the table array. Again, there's nothing underneath here, so I can easily just go straight across. I don't need to go that far, really. In fact, I don't even need the purchase order, so that far is fine. 1, 2, 3, so it's the third column across. And I want an exact match, so I can use 0 or false, whichever one is easiest for you. And of course, I can just copy that down now. And you can see that actually the only thing that they've got different is the 2646. Purchase order 927011. Now this happens a lot. When you actually start to do this, do a backwards comparison, watch what happens if I come back here, 927011. They have miskeyed the invoice number 2466. If I come back over here, 2646. So you can easily go back to them, and you can $63 on the 7th. So if I go back over here, $63 on the 7th. Chances are that they have actually paid it, but it's just been keyed in incorrectly. So you can go back and work that out between the two of you. So that kind of gives you an idea. And of course you could send off that 2234 because they haven't got a copy of it, and the 2590, they haven't got a copy of that either. So you can see that just using the VLOOKUP either way, you can really quickly work out what each of you have got and where maybe there have been things that have been miskeyed. So I really hope this has been helpful for you. And for more super helpful tips on VLOOKUP and other related topics, please check out the video links at the end of this video. So I really hope this instruction has been helpful and is going to save you time. Just remember to check you are using a unique lookup value. The lookup value is in the first column of the table array, and you are using column indexed numbers, not the column letters, okay? If this has been helpful, let me know in the comments below. And if you use Excel and want to stay connected, just hit that like button and please make sure that you subscribe, because we're sharing new videos regularly. And if you know someone who would benefit from this help, please be sure to share this video with them. Thanks for watching and have a fabulous day.